啊。我们光从东方来的施工最主要的一个意向呢，就是从学术的角度来介绍东方教会的传统。那么东方教会当然包括东正教，包括叙利亚教会，包括亚美尼亚教会，包括科普特教会，以及后来的俄罗斯教会。那我们介绍的方式呢，就像今天这样，我们主要是以邀请这个研究东方教会的学者来介绍这个东方教会的历史啊、礼仪啊、神学啊各方面的知识。那么在讲之前呢，我就简短的做一下我的介绍。我呢算是这个施工的一个发起人，我会邀请更多的讲员来参与我们的施工。我现在在这个伦敦大学亚非学院做在读博士哈。那么如果你们有进一步对我们施工有兴趣的话，可以来扫上面的二维码，无论是关注我们，还是觉得我们的施工非常有意义，或者每一场讲座您觉得获益不浅，愿意赏赞一杯咖啡的钱哈，欢迎也点击 donation。我们此外还有一个翻译希腊教父著作的施工哈，我们会翻译希腊教父的著作和一些现今的学术文章给中国读者。如果您愿意的话呢，欢迎加入我们这个订阅会员的栏目如果您使用微信的话，可以直接扫码加我的微信，然后我呢就可以拉您到群里面，或者呢您可以在聊天栏里面看到的这样哈，直接给我留下一个邮箱或者呢登录我们的网站了解我们更新的信息。好，我们的介绍就到这里啊。
Yeah, so I said normally monks and nuns pursue this kind of life in communities or in what we call monasteries.
Yeah， 通常来说，这个修士和修女去追求这种进修的生活呢，是在一个修院里面追求的。
So in Greek, these communal monasteries are called kinovia.
这个希腊词呢是叫 kilovia。
Yeah, they usually have an abbot or an abbess who's in charge, who regulates the community life of a large number of monks.
通常呢有一位这个主持哈，修院的院长来管理这个修院。
So they have rules and an order of life. They have a schedule of church services, assignments of work, and everybody has their place in this large community.
他们有这个修院的会规，有这个有这个日常的这个服饰哈，祈祷的服饰，还有他们每个人呢都有相应的安排的工作，每一个人呢在修院里面都有相应的这个角色和服饰。
And in addition to these large kinovia, this Cenobitic monasticism, there are also smaller communities which have which are not a large monastery with dozens or hundreds of monks, but just a small group of monks or nuns centered around an elder, like a family.
OK， 除了这种大型的修院以外，可能是几十个甚至上百个这个修士在一个大的建筑群。那么也有一些小的修院的模式哈，就是他们人数没有那么多，但是他们大概可能就十几个人像一个家庭一样，由一位 elder 一位长老呢来带领他旗下的几位弟子。Yeah.
Sometimes these small monastic communities are called sketes, skiti in Greek, and they live a quieter life than the large communities.
那这种修院模式呢，他们叫做 skiti 没有合适的中文，我就翻译成斯科提哈。斯科提，那么斯科提呢，他们生活的方式要更加的安静一些
Yeah, so we have these large communities, kinovia, these smaller sketes of brotherhoods of monks. But in addition to these, there's also the life of the Hesychast, who's generally a solitary monk.
除了这个斯科提的这种修养模式外，这还有一个就是一个更加可能隐修的一种方式哈，叫solitary 啊，就是独居隐修的一种方式。
Yeah, so the Hesychast generally is an advanced monastic who has sort of graduated from the school of the Canovium or of the Skeet and lives apart, lives in absolute solitude in order to have that outward stillness and peace as the conditions of his prayer.
Yeah, 所以这种 Hesychasm 这种更加就是荒漠的这种修道模式呢，是通常来说不是他自己选择直接去这样做，而是从一个大修院里面晋升他就进入了斯科迪的修院，再进一步的晋升呢，就住在一个更加偏远的人迹罕至的地方，在那里呢独居和独修。
So if we return to this this manual called the Ladder of Divine Ascent, we see that the Hesychast, St. John, the author says, has no need of other monks because he's accompanied by the angels.
What is St. John of who?
St. John Climacus, of the Ladder of Divine Ascent.
天梯约翰这种独居的模式呢，就是说他们不需要其他人的这种陪伴，而是由天使来陪伴这样子。
So he's moved away from the noise and the distractions, even of a community life. And St. John says that he shuts the door of his room to his body.
Okay, sorry, my the signal here is not very clear. So do you see the St. John say he's shut door over what?
He shuts the door of his room to his body.
OK， 所以这种独居者的模式呢，天梯约翰说他关闭了他的门啊，就是关闭了他的身体 over his body， 关闭了他身体之门哈，相当于。
So he shuts the door of his room to his body. He shuts the door of his tongue to speech.
他关闭了他的舌头去说话。
And he shuts the inner gate, meaning the gate of the heart, to the evil spirits.
他关闭了这个心门啊，对邪灵说话的心门。
So the goal of the Hesychast is to speak face to face with God and to be alone with God.
所以进修主义的目标呢是与上帝面对面与上帝独处的交流。
So his work that he practices in order to achieve this is what the Orthodox Christian tradition calls watchfulness.
Yeah， 这种操练呢，在东正教传统中叫做警醒。
And this is the vigilance of a sentry or a guard at his post who is making sure that nothing or no one comes in or comes out that should not be entering and exiting.
这个就有点像这个警惕的守卫啊，就是要他留意他心中的那个门啊，就是进出他都留意到了。
So some of the fathers of the church draw a comparison between the Hesychast and a spider sitting on her web.
有一些教父们把这个进修主义的操练比喻成这个蜘蛛在网上。
So patiently and stealthily, the spider watches for long periods in this stillness that allows her to deal effectively and mercilessly with its prey, right? When something comes into the web, she's ready through her patience to pounce on it.
说蜘蛛呢，在这个的蛛网里面捕猎的时候，它耐心的、安安静静的等候着这个猎物的到来。当猎物到来的时候，它就可以无情的去抓住经过这个蛛网的猎物。
And so the Hesychasm, in the same way, in his desire to be alone with God, is watching and ready to make sure that anything that's going to intrude or get in the way of this is eradicated and terminated instantly, like the prey on the spider's web.
所以进修士呢，他们试图与上帝交流的时候呢，他们就像蜘蛛一样，时刻的注意自己这个心念的活动。当然，只要是这种不好的念头出现的时候，它像蜘蛛一样，也迅速的抓住这个心中的这种私情邪欲，把它摔碎就捕获。
And so again, this is difficult for the average person to do if you're going to school, if you're going to work, if you have a family and social obligations, which is why the Hesychast is generally a solitary monastic.
这种操练对于我们普通在世上生活、要工作、要学习有家庭婚姻的人来说呢，是很难的。这也是为什么这个 Hesychasm 就进修主义、进修士，特别是指这个修院群体的人。
So this is the tradition of Hesychasm in the Orthodox Church, and we'll come back to in a moment. I'll speak about the Hesychast controversy that erupted in the 14th century about the Hesychasts, but I'd like to speak now just for a moment about Saint Gregory Palamas himself.
OK，刚才呢就是对进修主义的一个general的介绍。然后呢，我们现在要进到下一步，14世纪的这个进修之争。然后接下来我会谈到这个圣帕拉玛的一些事情。
So Saint Gregory Palamas was at the center of this Hesychast controversy in the 14th century.
圣帕拉玛是这个在这个进修之争的14世纪是一个中心人物。
So his family was from Asia Minor, connected to what's today modern Turkey, connected to the court of the emperor in Constantinople.
他的家庭是来自于亚细亚，现在的土耳其地区。他的家庭呢与皇室成员有联系。
And his father, Constantine, actually worked for the emperor. He worked as a senator in the imperial court.
Senator，OK，他的父亲是康斯坦丁，他在这个拜占庭帝国做那个 senator 是秘书吧，在皇家的这个法 code 法庭里面做秘书职位。
So he came from a family that was well known at this high level of Byzantine society.
所以他的 family 是来自一个非常有名望的家族。拜占庭家族。
But they were a very pious family.
但他们是很虔诚的家族。
So his father was well respected as a spiritual person, and his mother and his siblings, his brothers and sisters, were all very pious people.
他的父亲他的母亲还有他的弟兄姐妹都是非常虔诚的信徒。
So one of the things that happens when Gregory's father dies is that all of his brothers and sisters and his mother all become monastics, monks and nuns.
当他的父亲去世的时候，所有他家庭所有成员，他的母亲和弟兄姐妹都成了修士和修女，去了修院。
So Saint Gregory himself had a desire to live a monastic life since he was young.
圣格列高列就是帕拉马呢，他很小的时候就想过一个修院的修士的生活。
So even though he was very educated and had the best education being close to the court of the emperor, he nevertheless desired to leave that behind and to become a monk.
尽管他受到了很好的教育啊，他是在拜占庭皇家这个地方呢受训的，但是他仍然也有很好的前程，但是他仍然呢选择放弃一切，过一个修士的生活。
So when he was growing up, St. Gregory's family would take them very frequently to the monasteries to go to church and to meet with the monks.
当他长大的时候，这个圣格列高列他就去教会去拜访修院去这些地方朝圣。
So by the time he was in his 20s, St. Gregory Palamas was already spending significant time at these small skeets around these holy elders in order to become a monastic himself.
在20岁的时候呢，圣格雷格勒帕马他已经去了一个叫斯科迪的一个修院里面，就相当于实习吧，就待了一段时间有了就是预备他成为修士的这样一个过程。
And it says in his biography that he used to pray every morning a prayer that begins with the prayer that Saint Mary of Egypt said before the icon of the Mother of God when she repented in the Holy Land. If you remember or if you know the life of Saint Mary of Egypt, when she finally repents in the Holy Land, St. Gregory Palamas would say this prayer every morning that begins with this prayer of Saint Mary of Egypt.
圣帕拉马他是每天早上都要祈祷这个在埃及的圣玛利亚的这个忏悔的祷文如果你们了解这个埃及圣玛利亚的话，他做的这个生平的话，他做的他在圣母面就是做的这样一个祷文。
And he would pray every day for God to enlighten his darkness. He would say, Lord, enlighten or give light to my darkness.
他每天祷告就是说这样说主啊，求你给我的黑暗照明我的黑暗。
And so one of the experiences that he has as a young monk is that Saint John the evangelist comes to him and he says that he's sent by the Mother of God in order to tell him that God will answer his prayers and the Mother of God will answer his prayers for him to be illumined.
OK， 他有一个弟兄叫Saint John of Damascus。
Saint John the Evangelist, the author of the Gospel.
就是这个使徒约翰哈，就是写约翰福音的使徒约翰，就有一次向他显现，告诉他这个圣母玛利亚已经就是听了他的祷告，他就会给他的这个黑暗呢照明他的黑暗。
And so this begins a pattern in his life of deep spiritual experiences, and he will have other experiences like this where Saint Anthony of the desert appears to him, where the Mother of God herself will appear to him, and he has a very deep and profound spiritual life.
圣格雷高勒帕拉马呢有一个非常深的这个属灵的生命和经验甚至这个大圣安东尼向他显现，圣母玛利亚也向他显现哈。
And so the first thing that he writes is something that the Archangel Michael appears to him and tells him to write the life of Saint Peter the Athonite, who was one of the founders of monastic life on Mount Athos.
Yeah， 所以他的他的首部著作是这个他who appeared to him？ 哦，
The Archangel Michael.
大天使麦克呢向他显现，告诉他要写下这个阿索斯圣山的这个首位来到阿索斯圣山的一位修士阿撒拿修给他作传，做圣人传记。
And so this is the beginning of his literary career, where he's writing saints' lives. Especially, he writes about the Mother of God, and he will become famous and well known as a holy monk and as a theologian.
Yeah， 这个就是他他这个属灵圣篇的开端，然后有这个诞生女玛利亚呢。向他显现，他开始做的就刚开始就写这个圣人的传记，然后为他就是将来就是做一个神学家哈，预备。
And it's at this point that he gets involved in the Hesychasm controversy, when he's not yet a priest. He's just a simple monk who is known and respected for his holiness.
那么，当这个进修之争爆发的时候，他还不是神父，他只是一个普通的修士。那他有名呢，是因为他这个圣洁的生活。
So later on, during the Hesychasm controversy, he will be ordained as a priest.
在这个进修之争的时候呢，他将会被安立为神父。
And during the Hesychasm controversy, he obviously becomes the spokesman of the Hesychasm theology, but he suffers a lot for this early on, up until the year 1347, including being put in prison and for 4 years.
So it's during the Hesychasm controversy he was a sufferer. Is that right?
Yeah, because of the controversy. Yeah.
Because of controversy. So 在这个进修之争的时候呢，他为此受苦了。During the year, what's the year? Sorry.
So in the year 1343, the Hesychasm controversy begins around 1338, and in 1343 he's put into prison for 3 years, for 4 years.
For 4 years, okay. So 在1353年的时候呢，他被关到了关进监狱4年，因为这个进修之争而受到了逼迫哈。
Yeah, and so we'll come back to the actual controversy, but just to give you the overview of his life.
这是sorry 哈，这是1343年啊。OK， 我们还会继续回到进修之争，但是我们在这里呢就简单的介绍一下他的生平。
And so later on, when he himself is vindicated, he will be made a bishop in Thessaloniki or Thessalonica, in what's today modern Greece.
在他被拨乱反正之后呢，他被安立为这个主教，现在是这个 Thessalonica， 就是帖撒罗尼迦的主教，希腊的。
And so his reputation and his legacy is also connected with his time as a bishop and as a preacher. So one of the things that he's famous for throughout church history is for his sermons that he preached as a bishop.
他另外一个非常重要的成就呢，是他在做主教之后，他的讲道成了这个属灵的遗产。
And when he dies in 1357, there are dozens of miracle stories worked both during his life and after his death through his intercession.
在他1357年荣归天家的时候呢dozens 大概可能有几十个这个神迹伴随着他的这个这个离世，有的甚至在他有生之年就发生了。
So this is the overview, but we'll go back now and talk about the actual Hesychasm controversy, which is one of the reasons he's so famous.
现在我们回到这个进修之争，然后这也是为什么他非常非常著名的原因。
So the Hesychasm controversy begins with a monk named Varlam who came from Calabria in Italy, which was a Greek part of Italy.
OK， 有一个叫做巴兰的人呢，他是在这个一个叫 Palamas， 是意大利的一个地方，但是当时这个意大利这个地区呢是属于拜占庭帝国。
So even though Varlam is Greek, because he's coming from Italy, he's a little bit of an outsider in Byzantine culture.
Yeah， 虽然这个巴兰是这个希腊人但是由于他是处于这个拜占庭帝国的边界，所以呢，其实他对于这个拜占庭的这个文化，其实还是有一点陌生的。
And so Varlam is a little bit of a controversial figure in general. He makes a lot of enemies because of his personality. But one of the conflicts that he gets into is that he starts criticizing the hesychasts that are in the area around Mount Athos and Thessalonica.
巴兰的性格呢，是非常有个性的，他有生之年就很有争议。那么把他带入这个争议的一个巅峰的，就是他开始批评这个阿索斯圣城和周围的这个进修主义还进修式的传统。
So the main controversy that develops is because Varlam is critical of these hesychasts because of the way that they understand illumination, the illumination of God, being enlightened by God.
一个原因是，这是巴兰批评这个进修主义的一个原因是，他们对这个illumination 光照或者叫启示的理解不一样造成的。
So essentially, the hesychasts and their disciples were reporting to Varlam that, or explaining to him that they were experiencing a light when they prayed.
那有一件事就是可能阿索斯的这些修士就像这个巴兰告诉他他们在祈祷的时候经验到了这个光。
And they compared this light, or they identified this light with the vision that the apostles had of the Lord Jesus Christ on Mount Tabor. If you remember the story of the Transfiguration, when the Lord is shining with light, Peter, James, and John behold him on the mountain. The hesychasts were comparing their experience to this experience.
的进修士们谈到这种光的时候，他们把这个光呢跟那个就是耶稣登山显荣在塔波山登山显荣的看这个他们的使徒彼得、雅各和约翰看到的光呢是一样的光。
So Varlam was critical of these hesychasts because he saw them as being uneducated and simple.
这个巴兰开始批评这些进修士这种经验，他们认为这些修士们是没受过教育的比较单纯说白了就比较傻。
And so in his criticisms, one of the ideas that he puts forward, Varlam puts forward, is the idea that what these monks need to be illumined, to be enlightened, is to be educated. That the illumination of the mind is intellectual knowledge or academic study, and that these experiences that they were having were sort of base or lower experiences of the body or of the senses that were not equal to the illumination of the mind.
所以巴兰的批评认为，就是这种光照呢，是说白了就是就是学术上受教育啊，就是受到学术的教育了解知识他们是 illumination 是受到光照，而对于修士们谈的这种经验呢，巴兰认为是一种比较低层的低级的经验，是属于物质的感官的经验。
And so where St. Gregory Palamas gets involved is to defend these hesychasts and to defend their experience.
那么圣格雷格勒帕拉马进去的时候，就开始为这个修士经历这种神光的经验呢辩护。
So what he says essentially is that these hesychasts are experiencing God himself, and that they are seeing God as light, the way that the apostles saw the Lord Jesus Christ as light on Mount Tabor at the Transfiguration.
所以他辩护就是说，他们修士们经历的光是神光，就是他们经历的这种光呢，跟这个耶稣在塔伯山显荣使徒们见到的光是一样的。
And so the basic debate or controversy between Varlam and St. Gregory Palamas is over whether God can be seen, whether the hesychasts are seeing God or they're seeing something that is not God, something that is lower than God.
Yeah， 所以圣帕拉马跟巴兰的这个争论的焦点是说，上帝可以被看见吗？还是或者上帝他们所看见的这个圣光是上帝本身吗？还是一种更加低级的物质的感觉的光？
So Varlam claims that this light that the hesychasts are seeing, that they are experiencing, cannot be God because God is invisible and God cannot be seen by human beings.
那巴兰的论点就是说，这进修士们所看到的光不可能是上帝，因为上帝是不可见的，人不可能看到上帝。
And so St. Gregory Palamas distinguishes between seeing God's essence or what God is, and seeing this light which he calls an energia of God, or energy. We have this word with energy.
OK， 那圣帕拉马就开始做了一个区分就是他们说这个首先是这个上帝的本质上帝的本质或者上帝的本性，还有上帝的 energia， 就是上帝的能量或者功用做了这样一个区分哈。在我们中国就是体用的区分大概是这样。
So if I could draw a very crude analogy, the debate is like if somebody said, every morning the sun comes through my window.
那我们要用一个比较酷的比喻的话，就是他有人早上起来，每天早上起来看到这个太阳穿过这个窗户。
So Varlam is like a person saying, no, the sun cannot come through your window because the sun is very large. The sun is in the heavens. It's very far away. It's too hot. It cannot come through your window. It would destroy everything.
那如果是巴兰呢？他说这个太阳光是不可能穿过这个窗户的，因为太阳很大，它很热。如果它穿过这个窗户的话，那它就会摧毁一切。
And St. Gregory Palamas is saying that even though the sun remains very far away and it's very, very large and very hot, nevertheless, it is the sun that is entering through the window, that is making the room bright, that is making the room warm. It is the same sun that you experience.
尽管帕拉马就会说呢，就是尽管太阳很远，它很大也很热。但是这个太阳穿过这个窗户的太阳光呢，它会使这个房间变得明亮，并且使房间变得温暖。那么它这个太阳光跟这个太阳同样是从太阳出来的哈，它们是一致的。
So this is similar to the distinction between the essence of God, which always remains outside of our experience, and the energia, or the energy of God, which is the same God, but it's how we experience him.
那么这种区分呢，就是上帝的本质啊，是超越人类这个理性思想所能理解的，始终是不可触及的啊。但上帝的这种能量呢，它的大能呢，是我们可以经验的。这个上帝的大能和上帝本质都是上帝。
And so this is the origin of this essence energies distinction that Saint Gregory Palamas is most famous for.
这个是把上帝的本质和能量做区分呢，是帕拉马的立场最有名的一个神学立场。
And so it's important for Christian theology because Saint Gregory Palamas was defending the fact that when the Lord Jesus Christ showed his glory on Mount Tabor to the apostles, he is showing his divinity. He is showing that he is like the shining sun. He is God himself.
那帕拉马辩护的就是在塔伯山上，这个主耶稣显荣的那个光呢，是显明了这个主耶稣的神性是显明了他的这个大能这个是可以经验的。
And so if you call this light something created or something some kind of symbol or something less than God, like Varlam is doing, then you're denigrating something that belongs to God himself.
那如果你声称这个进修士们看到的光是一种什么呢？这是一种物质的或者说更低级的或者非被造的就是一种被造的光那么你就是把一些原本属于上帝的东西呢归为了被造物
And so if I can now bring these two ideas together, we started with this idea of ησυχία or stillness, and now we've been talking about this light. If I can bring these two things together.
现在如果我们把这两件事，我们刚才讲的这个进修主义进修和这个神光的经历现在我打算把它呢放在一起。如果我们把它放在一起的话。
So the Hesychast, when he tries to acquire this stillness or this quietude, is doing so in order to receive this light and to experience God as he has revealed himself.
那么进修之争呢，就是说他希望自己这个平静让自己有一颗这个清净心他之所以这样做，是希望呢他能够经验到上帝的这种神光。
So if I could return to that analogy of the sun, it would be similar to living in a world where there's a bright shining sun that gives warmth and light, but people are running around trying to make little fires, trying to make electricity, and the Hesychast is the one who says, I'm going to go and find this light. I'm going to go away from all of this activity so I can experience this warmth and this light of the sun.
那如果把这个关系跟我们世俗的一个太阳光做比喻的话这个太阳光是有光能使世界温暖但是人类呢也可以自行的生火或者产生这种电光就电灯泡的光。但是对于进修士来说，他们说我们不要这种光，我们需要去寻找这个太阳光的这个光源，我们经历到这种光。
And so for us, in the world we live in, the sun is outside of the world, and all you need to do is go outside to experience that light and that warmth.
对于我们来说，我们要经历太阳，我们就是从这个房间走出去去看到太阳，经历太阳的温暖。
But when we talk about the energia of God or the the light and the warmth of God, we don't find this by just opening a window or by going outside.
当我们要经历上帝的那种光和温暖的时候，我们不会说只是打开窗户或者打开门出去一下就能经历到的。
So this light is brought by Christ when he becomes a human being. It's brought into the world because he is God.
Yeah. 这个光呢是通过主耶稣基督带来的，因为他道成了肉身啊，他把这个光呢带到了世间，因为他是上帝。
And it's communicated to us as human beings in baptism when we put on Christ.
哦耶，那他这个跟我们的这个受洗是相连的。当我们这个受洗的时候呢，是披戴基督。
So for Orthodox Christians, the sun of the divinity, this bright, shining, warm sun of the divinity of God Himself, is inside of us. This is what we call the kingdom of heaven, which Christ says is the kingdom of heaven is within you.
Yeah. 所以对于这个东正教传统来说呢，就是这个真实的太阳啊，就是真光啊，太阳光呢是不在我们身外的，在我们里面哈，就像这个福音书里面说，这个天国就在你们心里一样。
Right. So and it's planted there again at baptism.
啊，他在受洗的时候呢，就根植在了我们心中。
So if you think of this this as a small seed planted in the heart, the job of the Christian and especially of the Hesychast is to go there and to find it and to cultivate it and to make it grow.
如果你把它当做一个种子，种在心里面的种子的话，那么进修士的工作呢，就是走到自己的心中，然后找到那个光源，然后呢，去好好的把这个培育好。
And so for St. Gregory Palamas, the model of the Hesychast, the sort of the inventor of Hesychasm and the perfect example of Hesychasm is the Mother of God.
格雷格勒帕拉马认为呢，就是这个进修士的模范啊，就是这个完美的模范呢，其实就是这个上帝之母。
And so especially in the younger life of the Mother of God, when she's preparing herself to receive Christ in her womb, we know that she goes into the temple of Jerusalem as a young girl.
那么为了预备这个道成肉身的这个圣母玛利亚呢，她经常去圣殿里面过一个虔诚的生活。
And there in the temple, she does what a hesychast does. She separates herself from the world, from distractions, in order to focus on God alone and find God alone.
那么在圣殿里面，他做到了一个进修士的一个榜样，他就是与其他人分别开，然后呢寻找一个与上帝相处的独处的角落。
Yeah, and by turning off all of the other powers and activities of the world, but also of herself, she makes a way to experience God, so that the energia of God can be present in her. It's like clearing a room in order to welcome a guest.
OK， 借着这个像这个世俗哈，或者是世界做一个叫什么来着 ？clear 就是清理或者清除包括他自己的一些欲望和冲动的关闭以后呢，他在自己的心中就开辟了一个接待上帝的一个房间。
So one of the things that the Hesychast does, it's like getting rid of all of your furniture, all of the things that you have occupying your house, because the king is coming and he is bringing all of his furniture with him.
所以这个进修士的话，这有点类似于，如果你要迎接神光的话，你就会把你的房间的这个家具啊什么都扔掉，然后因为你要迎接一位上帝，带着他所有的这种天上的这种家具来到你的新房当中。
So so the Mother of God in this way is the model of Hesychasm, because of course in her Christ comes to be physically present because she becomes pregnant with Christ, who is God.
Yeah， 所以这个圣母玛利亚是进修士的这个楷模呢，就是因为她预备自己迎接上帝在她身上的降生她对。
And so the Hesychast imitates the life of the Mother of God, not in order to become physically pregnant, obviously, but to have God dwelling in him also.
那么进修士效法这个圣母玛利亚的目标呢，不是说自己在自己身中再怀孕一次，像圣母玛利亚一样，而是说自己就是自己预备为一个上帝可居住的一个圣殿。
And so when this energia of God, this presence of God, enters into the body and the soul of the Hesychast, it transfigures both the body and the soul of the Hesychast, like it's as if it were taking over.
就当这种上帝的能量或者临在临到这个进修士的时候呢，他就把这个进修士的整个的身体和灵魂呢全部的圣化好像就像被提一样。
And so the transfiguration of the whole person means that the whole person of the Hesychast becomes spiritual. Their soul is spiritual, but also their body becomes spiritual.
对，所以这个进修士的圣化就是它是全人的圣化，不单是圣化他的灵魂，也圣化他的身体，都成为属灵的。
Yeah, and so just because we're over an hour already, I'll bring this to a close and say that this is what Saint Gregory Palamas experienced in his own life, but also defended theologically.
由于时间已经超过1个小时了，那我们大概的介绍就到这里这个以上所说的部分呢，就是圣帕拉玛他自己的亲身的实践，也是他这个在进修之中当中所做的一个贡献哈。好。Yeah.
So I hope that was more or less clear, but I'll be happy to take questions and discuss it more